IB ESS Systems Models Energy Equilibrium Part 1 will have its focus on an introduction to systems analysis. This entire unit is an introduction to ideas and concepts, as everything I present in these 4 movies will be strengthened in each of the units we study throughout the course. The significant ideas are: a systems approach can help in the study of complex environmental issues. The use of systems and models simplifies interactions, but may provide a more holistic view without reducing issues to a single process. A system is an assemblage of parts and the relationships among the parts to constitute a working whole. The concept of a system can be applied at a range of scales. Systems can be small or large. Whenever we talk about systems, we must be clear to define the boundaries of the system. The boundaries of this small system would be right here. The boundaries of this medium-sized system would be here, and the boundary of this larger system would be here. A systems approach is a way of visualizing a complex set of interactions, which may be ecological or societal. I'll be getting into the component parts of ecosystems and societal systems later in this movie. This course will be asking you to gain control of the interaction between ecosystems and societal systems, as can be seen in the overlap regions of this diagram. The interactions among component parts of a system produce what's called emergent properties. The idea behind emergent properties is that the whole is greater than the sum of the individual parts. To help you with the idea of understanding emergent properties, let's take a look at this hammer. The function of the hammer emerges from the parts. By itself, the handle is not functional. By itself, the head is not functional. But together, the handle and the head, you have a functional tool. The growth of this cornfield is an emergent property. The growth, including the harvest of food for people, emerges from the component parts of sunshine, carbon dioxide, water, and soil nutrients. The aesthetic beauty and the sense of spirituality provided by ecosystems emerge from the component parts of trees, air, water, scale, solitude. Functioning societies emerge from the component parts of rules, law, following rule of law, economics, and technology. Dignity, happiness, health emerge from component parts of proper nutrition, freedom, education. In case you're wondering whether or not I'm focused on the IB syllabus, here are the statements that I've just introduced. All of these statements will be strengthened with every unit we study. Define the term system. The concept of a system can be applied at a range of scales. A systems approach is a way of visualizing a complex set of interactions, which may be ecological or societal, and the interactions among the component parts of a system produce emergent properties. A system is comprised of storages, represented in diagrams as rectangular boxes, and a system is comprised of flows, which are represented as arrows. Storages have units such as kilograms per hectare, while flows, which are processes, have rate units, kilograms per year per hectare. And systems can have feedback loops, which could be loosely defined as output that returns as input to influence the system. We'll be looking more at storages, flows, and feedback loops in other parts of this unit and throughout the course. In this movie, I will deconstruct systems into ecosystems and societal systems. Societal systems would include economic systems, religious systems, political systems, and value systems. Ecosystems are systems with interactions among living things, known as the biotic component of the system, and the environment, which could be biotic or non-living, abiotic. The component parts of an ecosystem would be organisms, water, gases such as carbon dioxide and oxygen, sunlight, and soil nutrients. Once again, the component parts of an ecosystem would include the organisms, the water, gases, sunlight, and water chemistry, the nutrients dissolved within the water. Societal systems include economic systems. What are the components of an economic system? The component parts of economic systems would be currency, raw materials like this cotton, products like the lumber used to build this house, jobs, labor, and consumers. Economic systems are governed by an attempt to maximize profit through an analysis of supply and demand. In this diagram, we can see the economy as a societal system here. Within the societal economic system are jobs, labor, consumers, and currency. Raw materials and products are bought and sold within the economy. Take note, though, waste is an output of societal systems, and too often we ignore our waste, not taking into account the Earth's ability to absorb and degrade waste, or not taking into account the costs of managing waste. Societal systems include political systems. What are the component parts of political systems? Constitutions and documents that outline the balance of power. And institutions are part of political systems, governments that form laws, courts that uphold the law, uphold the Constitution, and evaluate whether societal behaviors fall within the Constitution. As well, within political systems, society's people must have respect for the rule of law, and if they don't, penalties should follow from a government that enforces its laws. The component parts of political systems include government structure, rules and laws, enforcement of laws, a willingness to follow the law, and the golden rule, don't do to others what you wouldn't want done to you. A functioning, sustainable political system has validity of law, equal opportunity, right to privacy, and a government's interest in doing what's best for its people. Societal systems include religious systems. What are the component parts of religious systems? Certainly documents or books with ideas. Leaders are a component part of religious systems. Buildings and followers are component parts of religious systems. The component parts of religious systems include beliefs from documents or texts, leaders who dispense the beliefs, institutions to codify the beliefs, and believers and followers. Societal systems include environmental value systems, worldview or a set of paradigms that shapes the way an individual or a society perceives and evaluates an environmental issue. You've seen this before. The inputs of an environmental value system would be economics, politics, religion, education, culture, media, and experience, while the outputs are decisions and evaluations that have a spectrum of responses. You can see the inputs and the outputs as decisions of an environmental value system. Decisions made by the ecocentric value system would be nature-centered, biorights, and self-restraint in consumption. The decisions made by the anthropocentric value system would be people-centered, where people manage systems with pragmatic solutions. And the decisions made by the technocentric spectrum of an environmental value system would be technology-centered, where technology provides solutions, a pro-growth control of systems. Remember that from one to the other, and everything in between, our environmental value system is shaped by our education, our culture, our socioeconomic position, our religion, our experiences, and the media. And there is no wrong environmental value system. From here to the end of the movie, I want to display the interaction of various components of environmental value systems that will underscore the complexity of environmental systems and societies. I don't want to focus on the details of each centrism, whether eco, anthropo, or technocentrism. If you want the details of the spectrum of environmental value systems, then go back to part 1 of the previous unit or study the last slide. With this image, we can start, it's an ecological image that might evoke ecocentric tendencies within you. Remember to pay attention to the interaction of various components of environmental value systems that will underscore the complexity of this course. In this image, we can see the biological and the ecological represented by the plant. However, there's an interaction of the ecological and societal as people manipulate plants for their purposes. While this image might evoke some of your deeper ecocentric thoughts, the nurturing of a seedling, this image should also evoke anthropocentrism, from seedling to crop to food on the table. And then there's tree hugging, the intersection of bio-rights with politics, and the anthropocentric idea of stewardship. People will make political statements by protesting potential logging from a refuge in the trees and refusing to come down, thus preventing the trees from being cut. If you identify with the activist in the trees, you're ecocentric. if you identify with the jobs, with the work of the loggers, or the need for wood as raw material in a societal economy, then you are anthropocentric. The Chipko movement in India produced one of the best-known ecocentric political movements. People literally hug trees to prevent them from being cut. And so what if we cut trees? We need raw materials, resources in order to provide for the needs of people. Economies demand raw material and companies provide jobs to people who need them. Do you agree with what I've just said? Or are you repulsed by this photo? Notice how technology has changed the rate at which people can harvest raw material. Keep technology, particularly changing technology, in mind as you move forward. When technology changes, so does the rate of harvest. And if systems grow or shrink, depending on the balance of inputs and outputs, an increasing rate of output would put ecological pressure on the system. Go back to the last image if you're not sure what I mean. In a world of over 7 billion people, how do we protect species? Should people take a hand in protecting species by setting aside vast tracts of land? Establishing a national park involves the intersection of ecology, politics, and economics. So are national parks all about wild species? No, not entirely. National parks are there for people to use and enjoy, and they contribute to local economy, postcards, souvenirs, all very anthropocentric. Is it really possible to set aside vast tracts of land to be absolutely untouched by people for any reason? Theodore Roosevelt, a United States president partly responsible for establishing Yellowstone National Park, was also a big game hunter. So what do you think of zoos? A zoo provides a safe haven for species who are seriously endangered. A zoo is a place where captive breeding can return a species to the wild. A zoo is a place where children can become inspired by the biological diversity of the world. A zoo is a place where all people can be educated about wild things. So, is a zoo ecocentric, anthropocentric, technocentric? Is a zoo anything but ecocentric? Are you repulsed by zoos? Could a zoo be considered ecocentric? Is there really care for the species? Sufficient space for the species? And then there's Disney's Jungle Cruises. The ecocentric argument for Disney's simulated nature would say, nature is uplifted, revered, and that Disney recreates it. Disney's recreation of nature says, nature is beautiful. Nature's beauty is exaggerated by Disney. Disney attracts people to enjoy nature, and as such, people may be inspired by nature, learn more, become better educated about nature. Nature's not harmed when people visit Disney. But the anthropocentric or technocentric argument for Disney's simulated nature would be, technology has substituted artificial materials for nature, thus natural areas are not harmed by people. Nature, simulated by technology as it is with Disney, reduces the travel to remote or far locations. This reduces pollution. Disney makes experiencing nature less expensive. Not all people can afford to travel to distant locations to see the beauty of a rainforest. And here, humans control nature in the simulation of nature. In this photo, we have an aquatic ecosystem with fish. The lake potentially provides food for people and recreation for fishermen. If the fisherman evokes romantic thoughts for you, consider that anthropocentric. But we live in a society with increasing energy needs, so we have industry that provides for societal needs. But are we accounting for the pollution? Are we releasing waste no faster than the earth can degrade it? That's a question. In urban areas, there is often a loss of nature. But here's an interesting technological solution to urbanization. And ecocentrism may not involve nature directly when people protest in urban areas. Is this protest ecocentric or anthropocentric? And if we used Twitter or Facebook to protest, would that be technocentric? And that brings us to the end of IB ESS Systems, Models, Energy and Equilibrium Part 1, an introduction.